All right, good morning. Got some more information for you on a subject that came into my inbox. I've taken another detour, basically because this is all brand new information that I got. So anyway, Neil Degrass Tyson, we are Stardust, and let's watch a little video clip. It's very short from him talking about that. Hold on.
The most astounding fact is the knowledge that the atoms that comprise life on Earth, the atoms that make up the human body, are traceable to the crucibles that cooked light elements into heavy elements in their core.
From the video, then, we're just stardust created in the crucible of stars, which, of course, would take billions of years before we showed up on the scene. So is that true? Well, in September 2nd of 2021, I uploaded a video that I called Science the Bible Got Right About 3,000 Years Ago, Part 5, and I'm going to start off with this video by playing just a small portion of it. And at the time, the Hubble Space Telescope was the only game in town, and it produced what they called the deep field view of the early universe. So without further ado, let's watch that little video clip. In this particular video, there's 4 different lines of evidence. When you're looking into space, you're looking backward in time, and I don't think anybody disagrees with that. But here's an interesting part of the video was the extreme deep field view of the universe, and it's supposedly looking back to 13.2 billion years. Well, what are they looking at? Well, they're looking at 5,500 galaxies, almost back to the beginning of our universe. In fact, in the video, the other gentleman said that we can see in a relatively uncontaminated way all the way back, 350,000 years after the Big Bang. So only 350,000 years after the Big Bang, before stars and galaxies formed. That's the microwave background radiation period. We can't see past that, but we can see all the way back to 350,000 years after the Big Bang. Well, what does the deep field view show? It shows galaxy-size objects. What's wrong with this picture? With my claim, so what does this have to do with my claim about that eternity was in operation when God rested? Well, the inflation phase, of course, is an unmistakable sign of appearance, not expansion. Any observer would have been there would have seen the appearance of the universe. He wouldn't have seen no expansion. It would have been boop. It's right there. I can't even say boop faster than a trillionth of a second. The deep field view the deep field photo of the universe purports to look back 13.2 billion years. And what do we see? We see galaxy-sized objects. There's something missing in our. If we can see, according to the gentleman in the video, if we can see back to 350,000 years, we should be able to see the beginning of the galaxies. But right now, all we can see are galaxy-sized objects, not just stars. So, since eternity was in operation, it is my claim that there was no time for galaxies to form. Let me say that again. Since eternity was in vogue at the beginning of the creation, that could explain why it didn't take any time for the galaxies to form. Nor did it take time for light from the distant galaxies to travel to the earth. And another part of the scripture talks about how God put the stars and everything in heaven for signs and seasons here on earth. Well, it wouldn't have done very much good to have signs and seasons here on earth if we couldn't see them. But in the beginning, when God put the stars in the heavens, guess what? There was no time as we know it. So it wouldn't have taken any time for the light from the stars to reach Earth. In the video, I make some of my own predictions. Of course, I'm a theist. I believe that God created the heavens and the earth, and so my claim is when he did it in eternity, not in time as we know it, and that the universe appeared in an instant with fully formed galaxies. Again, I'll leave a video in the description below from Alan Guth and Andre Lent basically saying that it went from a size of 0 to the size much larger than the observable universe in a trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth of a second. And then I said that the light from the distant galaxies reached Earth because, again, since it was created in eternity, there was no time it took no time for it to reach the Earth. Okay, so at the time I produced the video, like I said, the James Webb Telescope was still in development. In fact, it wasn't launched until December 25th of 2021, which is almost 2 months after my prediction. So, what have they found? Well, the reason why I'm putting this video together is because I received an article from space.com entitled James Webb Telescope Spots Galaxies from the Dawn of Time that are so massive they shouldn't exist. What follows then is going to be a summary of that article, and the picture on the right is of a galaxy far, far away that contains as many stars as the present-day Milky Way. So what follows are going to be some quotes from the article. So the James Webb Space Telescope spotted 6 gigantic galaxies, each roughly the size of our own Milky Way, that formed at a baffling fast pace, taking shape just 500 million years after the Big Bang. And then the James Webb Telescope has discovered a group of galaxies from the dawn of the universe that are so massive they shouldn't exist. And I ask the question, well, why? Okay, the 6 gargantuan galaxies, which contain almost as many stars as the Milky Way, despite forming only 500 to 700 million years after the Big Bang, have been dubbed universe breakers by the team of astronomers that spotted them. It's bananas, co-author Erica Nelson says, an assistant professor of astrophysics at the University of Colorado Boulder. And one of the researchers who made the discovery, she said in a statement, you just don't expect the early universe to be able to organize itself that quickly. These galaxies should not have had time to form. Scientists don't know exactly when the first clumps of stars began to merge into the beginning of the galaxies we see today. Currently accepted theory suggests that 1 to 2 billion years into the universe's life, these early proto-galaxies reached adolescence, forming into dwarf galaxies that began devouring each other to grow into ones like our own. But that would take time, billions of years to do that. By using the James Webb Space Telescope to peer roughly 13.5 billion years into the past, the astronomers found that enormous galaxies had already burst into life very quickly after the Big Bang, when the universe was just 3% of its current age. And we'll talk about another aspect of this that's equally astounding from another cosmologist. The researchers say that the galaxies are so massive they're in tension with 99% of the models for cosmology. The Milky Way forms about 1 to 2 new stars every year. Some of these galaxies would have to be forming hundreds of new stars a year for the entire history of the universe. If even one of these galaxies is real, it will push against the limits of our understanding of cosmology. That's right, it totally upends it. Regardless, the amount of mass we discovered means that the known mass in stars at this period of our universe is up to 100 times greater than we had previously thought. That was in February 22nd, 2023 in the journal Nature. My response, well, I demand a Nobel Prize. Just kidding. In cosmology. You heard it here. First predicted galaxy-sized objects at the Big Bang. There was a lot of information in the article, and I won't be covering all the information in this video. In fact, I will produce a series now to cover more in-depth, more information. What I'm going to concentrate on in this video is Neil Degrass Tyson's stardust claim. The newest evidence from the James Webb Telescope actually refutes the claim. It has been touted for years that stellar evolution, of course, is a fact like everything else. It is believed virtually by all cosmologists, in order for the heavier elements in our periodic table to form in our universe, there was something like 3 to 4 supernova would be needed to build the heavier elements we're all made from. Which, of course, would mean we would be stardust, if that were true. Furthermore, and more important in my mind, it would take literally several billions of years before intelligent carbon-based life forms could form in this universe, according to stellar evolution. Those 6 simple elements that make us up, they need stellar evolution. From a purely materialistic perspective, of course. Now, take our sun, for instance, which is touted by materialists all the time and cosmologists as an average star around an average star system in an average galaxy, blah, 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 whatever. Okay, yet our own sun is supposedly about 5 billion years old and expected roughly to live another 5 billion years before it goes supernova. This belief has already created a conundrum. If stellar evolution of the heavier elements that make up carbon life, stardust, took 3 to 4 supernova, then the development of said heavier elements should have come along much later in the stellar evolution cycle of our universe. What has the James Webb Telescope instead found? Let's watch a video.
James Webb does not stop surprising us pretty much every single day. So many new observations and so many new discoveries have already been made in such a short time. With this other study we've discussed previously, even finding at least a few galaxies at what seems to be the redshift of 20, which would place them around 180 million years after the formation of the universe. But more importantly, a lot of them seem to also be shaped like disks, which is really unexpected because it's always been believed that disk-shaped galaxies or spiral galaxies would take much longer to produce. Yet the study right here did discover a lot of disk shapes at relatively faraway distances. Something that's, I guess, slightly better visible in these images produced by the James Webb. Now obviously these are not super high quality images, but they do resemble typical disk shapes or typical spiral galaxies. Here are some of the more distant ones discovered in this study. And for astronomers, this is really unexpected, mostly because of the previous observations from the Hubble telescope. When the scientists started using Hubble, they essentially concluded that a lot of distant galaxies are mostly irregularly shaped because of the way that they believed galaxies form. And it would actually take a few 100 million years for galaxies like the Milky Way to start forming. And to some extent, the computer simulations from the last few decades have also proved this to be correct. Galaxies start as irregular and eventually form into disks. This does take a few 100 million years. But that's not what the observations from the James Webb seem to suggest. There seem to be up to 10 times as many distant disk galaxies as initially thought. And many of them already have relatively stable shapes. And currently, obviously, nobody knows why. Moreover, at least one other paper from just a couple of days ago has also discovered that a lot of massive galaxies formed much earlier in the universe than was previously believed. And specifically, they discovered that centers of various massive galaxies have already formed and were already stable approximately 500 million years after the universe began, with many of them to some extent resembling some of the galaxies we find not so far away from our own home right now. And it's not just the mass, the size, or the structure. Analysis of some of these early galaxies has already revealed that a lot of them were very rich in a lot of different complex elements such as oxygen. And that's sort of unexpected because these complex chemical elements are sort of expected to appear a little bit later. Yet, surprisingly, a huge amount of these elements was discovered in some of these distant galaxies. The scientists expected to mostly find hydrogen and helium, but they found much heavier elements, which suggested that a lot of stars formed much quicker and then went supernova much quicker as well. And this kind of changes our perspective on how we believe galaxies evolve over time. Originally, the Hubble telescope studies suggested that the galaxies start small and grow bigger and bigger over time, mostly through the process of collisions with other galaxies and potentially by absorbing more mass from the outside. Yet Webb seems to suggest something else. According to the Webb telescope, the galactic evolution seems to be much more complicated and is not as linear as we initially thought. It basically suggests that some galaxies might even reduce size and some other galaxies might actually stay the same size for a very long period of time and do not increase in size as linearly as initially thought, which made a lot of astronomers in the last few weeks basically question everything they knew about the formation of galaxies, formation of stars, and essentially the universe as a whole. Now, obviously for us, living here on planet Earth, this might not really have much effect. But in terms of cosmology and in terms of our understanding of the formation of the universe, this is a pretty big deal. This essentially means that the scientists might have to rework a lot of things they knew about the formation of the universe from the beginning.
From the video then, finding spiral galaxy-sized objects all the way back to just 180 million years after the Big Bang is astonishing. So where are the first stars and infant galaxies at? Where, pray tell, is the supposed cosmic or stellar evolution? Furthermore, more important, the discovery of the heavier elements like oxygen right back to the dawn of only 180 million years after the Big Bang. Well, out goes supposedly 3 to 4 supernova, and out goes stardust. So, question, when will Neil Degrass Tyson be expected to do a retraction? To make matters worse for the materialist, the size of these galaxies are the same size as the Milky Way, with 20 times the mass of the stars in the Milky Way. Excuse me, but that is stellar evolution in reverse. So why am I not surprised? I'm not. Why, all the way back to the beginning, do we find very massive galaxies that already have the heavier elements in them? And God said, right back to the beginning. Once again, what is more reasonable to believe, what is more logical to believe, and what is more probable to believe? Thank you, Jesus. Enough said. Have a blessed day.